ජීවිතේ වැඩිපුර ලැබෙන හොඳම දේවල් විඳින්න. දැන් SLT broadband වෙතින් 75% දක්වා වැඩිපුර data සතුට ජනවාරි 1 වෙනිදා සිට ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම්.
Good evening. A bus explosion. A blast on a private passenger bus leaves 19 injured, including 12 security forces personnel. Government says it is an isolated incident.
We deny that it's a terrorist attack.
The usual union. Prime Minister and UPFA General Secretary notifies Parliament of intentions over the national government. Changes to the government. Cabinet co-spokesperson Dr. Rajitha Senaratne says that the cabinet reshuffle will take place within the week. Mother Language Day. Minister of National Languages adamant that the issue in the country has exacerbated beyond language differences.
Has gone beyond the language issue. Language issue is almost technically and logically, legally settled.
And time for change. National Olympic Committee presidency hopeful Rohan Fernando calls it high time for the country to become internationally competitive.
This is the proud nation that cannot win medals for some reason or the other.
After 2 weeks of political uncertainty on the future of the coalition government with many twists and turns, it comes down to this. A simple statement from the Prime Minister saying it's business as usual. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mahesh Johnny. This is First at 9. Later on in the show, we will also talk to Rohan Fernando, who's vying for the presidency of the National Olympic Committee. But first, let's take you straight to the Parliament. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe informed Parliament today that the national government continues to be in effect as there is no reason for it to be cancelled. Following Prime Minister's statement, General Secretary of the UPFA, Mahinda Amaravira, also said that the UPFA led by the SLFP didn't leave the national government.
The national government is being continued following a decision taken by Parliament as per the Constitution. That proposal is still valid. I don't think there is reason to cancel that at the moment. Minister Mahinda Amaravira, could you express your views on this? We and the UNP have signed an agreement, and it was passed in the Parliament as well. We are still bound by this agreement and will continue with it. You informed the Parliament that this 2-year-long national government's tenure will come to an end by the 2nd of September last year. It's been over 4 months now. So it is against the Constitution as to how 48 ministers are working at the moment. Could the Secretary General read out the proposal we passed under 46/4? As the UNP, which won the highest number of seats in Parliament, established a national government, the number of cabinet ministers should not exceed more than 48. It also says the number of non-cabinet ministers and deputy ministers should not exceed 45. The Speaker said there are documents related to this proposal. We can't argue that this document is not relevant. There is no such thing that agreement should be brought into the Parliament. Both the Prime Minister and General Secretary of UPFA said the national government is continuing. What more is there to it? I will quote what the President said to this Parliament on the 1st of January. He said the Parliament is forming a national unity government for 2 years to fulfill national requirements. And then what did the Prime Minister say while presenting the proposal to Parliament? He said they are limiting the tenure to 2 years to understand whether this method would work or not. And even the General Secretary of UPFA said they are establishing the government only for 2 years. It was on these 3 factors that the proposal of establishing a national government was presented. This requires the agreement to be there for 2 years. But there's a void now, and there is no national government in this void. That's why all of you should present another proposal on the national government to the Speaker. You should also get the approval of the Parliament to increase the number of ministerial positions. There is a tradition that's being followed when political parties join hands. They don't put that in writing. If you don't present the agreement to the Parliament, future Prime Ministers will take this as an example and risk appointing as many ministers as they want.
Cabinet co-spokesperson Dr. Rajitha Senaratne says that the cabinet reshuffle will be done within this week. He was speaking at the cabinet media briefing held in Colombo today.
The Cabinet approved the allowance of 50,000 rupees for house owners who were evacuated due to the landslide at the Mitotamulla waste dump, and to further provide 50,000 rupees as an allowance for 60 identified families until the assessment and payment of compensation is completed. It also approved the establishment of a South Asian Regional Intelligence and Coordination Centre to fight organised crime. In the meantime, Tokyo Mitsubishi Bank of Japan has agreed to provide funds to the tune of over 144 billion rupees for the third phase of the Central Expressway from Potuhara to Galagedara via Rambukkana, and the Cabinet lent its approval to award the relevant contract of construction to MS Taisei Corporation of Japan. It also signed off on obtaining funds from Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank for implementing Sri Lanka Accelerated Solid Waste Management Project at a cost of 115 million rupees. In the meantime, a number of other current issues were also discussed during the cabinet media briefing today.
Cabinet සංශෝධනයක් සිද්ධ වෙයි කියලා බලාපොරොත්තුෙන් ඉන්නවා. දැන් අද නොවේ හෙට කියලා කියනවා.
Cabinet සංශෝධනය දැන්ටත්
Cabinet reshuffle is underway. The issue is announcing it. We believe that it could be done this week.
ඉස්සලා කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒයි. ඒවා ඉවරයි.
ඊයේ කැබිනට් හමුවේදී එක් පත්‍රිකාවක් තමයි ටැබ් පරිගණක ලබා දීමේ පත්‍රිකාව ඒක ජනාධිපතිතුමාව ලංගු කරා කියලා කියනවා.
සෙල්ල සතියෙන්
The President said last week to give weight to fields where more prominence should be given when it comes to fund allocation. What he wanted was to do a pilot project in one district instead of spending 4 billion on the project at once. He appointed a committee to identify the most important projects to be completed within 2 years. None of these projects are removed.
ඉතින් ඒ අනුව එකක්වත් අයින් කරලා නැහැ.
මෙවැනි ව්‍යාපෘති නතර කරන්න මේ ආණ්ඩුවට සල්ලි නැද්ද?
ආණ්ඩුවට සල්ලි තියෙනවායි කියලා.
There is a limit on government loans. Since we have an agreement with the IMF, we can't obtain loans on whim.
IMF එකත් එක්ක අපි ගිවිසුමක් අරගෙන.
යහපාල රජය යන්නේ ගිවිසුම නැතුව. තවදුරටත් මෙහෙම යන්න පුළුවන්.
ලංකාවේ හැම සභාග රජයම ගියේ ගිවිසුම් නැතුව.
එහෙමනම් සයින් කරේයි.
ඒක අලුත් වැඩිය කරනවා.
කවද්ද කරන්නේ?
මොකෝ ඔච්චර හදිසියෙ ඔබතුමා.
රටම බලාගෙන ඉන්න ඕනේ.
ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඕනේ අපි සමගි වෙලා යනවා මිසක් ඕකේ ලියු කඩදාසිය නෙවෙයි. තා ඉක්මනට ගහන්න.
Highlighting the Constitution, President of Bar Association U.R. De Silva states that powers of the Prime Minister will naturally be nullified if the Cabinet of Ministers is dissolved. He made the remark at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
Constitution clearly states as to how the dismissal of the Prime Minister will be. If by any chance the President decides to make changes to the Cabinet of Ministers or dissolve it, he doesn't need to dismiss the Prime Minister separately. The Constitution clearly says the tenure of the Prime Minister will exist until the relevant Cabinet of Ministers is in existence. This means that if the Cabinet of Ministers is dissolved, the Prime Minister will naturally lose his powers. President will then get the power to appoint a new Prime Minister if he wishes to.
Meanwhile, the joint opposition expressed views on the current political situation.
General Secretary of the UPFA claims that there are so many issues at the moment because none of the joint opposition members are willing to accept ministerial positions. The SLFP, which is in power, is that desperate. We are not ready to accept ministerial positions just because they ask us. But we'd like to tell you one thing. We will get the support of 114 parliamentarians and establish a government if they ask former President Mahinda Rajapaksa to become the Prime Minister.
Journalists raised questions about the issues related to the Maharagam Urban Council.
They rejected our nomination, saying we didn't mention about the female candidate we had. But now they are saying they would reduce women representation required for electorates that don't meet the due percentage.
Meanwhile, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa also expressed views today regarding the current political situation.
There is no government at the moment. The country is unstable. President, Prime Minister, ministers and other parliamentarians are all over the place. The tenure is over and they need to act accordingly. The Speaker needs to make a decision on that, as well as the opposition leader. He can't avoid making decisions anymore. He must respect the public's view.
In one of our headline stories, an explosion on a passenger bus in the area of Kahagolla in Bandarwala left 19 people injured, including 12 security forces personnel. Minister of Law and Order and Southern Development, Sagala Ratnayaka, confirmed the cause of the explosion to be a hand grenade.
A private bus flying from Jaffna to Diyatalava reached Bindanuwava around 5 this morning with 18 passengers from Jaffna on board. The owner of the bus is also the owner of the private bus depot where the exchange took place, and following the exchange, the bus was scheduled to journey to Habarava via Diyatalava. Passengers say there was an explosion in the bus at around 5:30 in the morning while on transit to Diyatalava. Following the explosion, the bus caught fire and the incident was recorded by the locals on their mobile phones. The bus was completely destroyed and the firefighting unit of Bandarawala brought the fire under control. "19 people, including the driver's assistant, were admitted to the Diyatalava base hospital. 7 airmen, 5 army soldiers and 7 civilians are among the hospitalized. The director of the hospital, Dr. Ranjit Amarakun, told other Derana that 2 of the army soldiers are in serious condition. A section of a leg has been removed from one of them while the other has undergone surgery in the stomach area.
There was something in someone's bag for sure. Suddenly there was a large bang from someone's bag and everything caught fire.
The Bandarawala magistrate inspected the scene of the incident this afternoon. Meanwhile, the army media spokesman had this to say on the incident.
A fire followed by an explosion occurred in a private passenger bus travelling from Jaffna to Diyatalava, caused an injuries to 19 passengers this morning around 5:45 hours. While it was flying in the general area of Kahagolla, reports claimed that the bus, after reaching Bandarawala town, has transferred the passengers bound for Diyatalava to another private bus. Among the injured passengers, there were 7 army personnel, 5 air force personnel and 7 civilians. Investigations are on. We deny that it's an terrorist attack.
The incident was also taken up in Parliament today.
There was an explosion in the Kahagolla area and it was initially stated to be a grenade. After preliminary investigations, which the Sri Lanka Army is conducting, I spoke to General Mahesh Senanayake and he said that investigations have revealed that a grenade which was inside an individual's bag had been the cause. Preliminary investigations have shown that the explosion came from a grenade. Officials are conducting further investigations at the moment and we will inform you of the findings after they are completed.
Minister Councillor of Defence attached to the Sri Lanka High Commission in London, Brigadier Priyanka Fernando, is being recalled to Sri Lanka. Army spokesperson Brigadier Sumit Athapaththu confirmed the recall today, adding that it relates to a recent video which went viral on social media depicting Brigadier Priyanka Fernando making certain gestures toward LTTE sympathisers who were protesting outside the Sri Lankan High Commission in London.
A group of LTTE sympathisers engaged in a protest near the Sri Lanka High Commission in London on the 4th of February, the day of Sri Lanka's independence. Minister Councillor of Defence attached to Sri Lanka High Commission in London, Brigadier Priyanka Fernando, arrived at the scene and made a certain gesture towards the protesters. Although the Ministry of Foreign Affairs decided to remove him as the defence attaché, it was cancelled following the intervention of President Maithripala Sirisena. Meanwhile today, Army media spokesperson Brigadier Sumit Athapaththu was quizzed by journalists on the matter at the Cabinet media briefing.
We will bring him back to Sri Lanka. He is not removed from office. Although we were done with the matter, this issue kept popping up. Therefore, he is recalled to the country to talk with the army commander. It is something normal in the public service. We have to factor in his security and determine whether he continues. We also have to consider the inconvenience brought on by the incident to the Sri Lanka High Commission in London and ourselves. No disciplinary action is taken against him.
There might have
been influences, but that is not why we recalled him. He may or may not return to Britain. He communicated with the Tamil community present at the scene. Some say that's good, while others say it's bad. Our decision is that he didn't do anything harmful.
Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga says that the country made a wrong turn when it failed to give languages of the minorities their due place. She was speaking at a function held to celebrate the International Mother Language Day held in Colombo today. Meanwhile, addressing the same function, Minister of National Coexistence, Dialogue and Official Languages Mano Ganeshan touched on the national issue.
The International Mother Language Day was celebrated at the Vihara Mahadevi Park today under the patronage of former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga. Minister of National Coexistence, Dialogue and Official Languages Mano Ganeshan and State Minister of National Integration and Reconciliation H.M. Fauzi were also present.
Right now, the issue in Sri Lanka has gone beyond the language issue. Language issue is almost technically and logically, legally settled. There are small issues which have to sort out. However, what is pending here is the segment of implementation.
And the Sri Lankan people as a whole had lost their identity. In order to move forward as an independent, strong nation, I would say we needed to regain our national identity. And for that, the easiest, quite definitely the most effective vehicle was the vehicle of the language of the majority of the people. This was given due place, but where we went wrong was that the languages of the other communities, it was mainly two others, Tamil language and English, which was spoken by the Burgher people. Tamil was spoken by the Tamil as well as the Muslim people, I would say. Very few Muslim people in Sri Lanka spoke Arabic at that time. That these languages were not given their rightful place. Neither did we have a link language to link the different communities speaking diverse languages.
The remains of Anunaika of the Ramanya sector, Most Venerable Girambe Anandathera, was brought to Anuradhapura this afternoon from the Sri Sarananda Pirivena College. Most Venerable Girambe Anandathera passed away yesterday at the age of 80 while he was receiving treatment at the Sri Jayawardhanapura Hospital. The Thera's body was taken to Sri Sarananda Pirivena College and large crowds, including members of the Mahasangha, paid their last respects. The final rites of the Thera will be held this Saturday at the Velasinghe Harishchandra grounds in Anuradhapura. Most Venerable Girambe Anandathera, who was born on the 19th of May in 1938 in the village of Girambe, was ordained on the 1st of January in 1949. Deputy Director of Disaster Management Centre Pradeep Kodipilli says that 5 districts have been affected by drought and scarcity of drinking water. He added that as a result, the DMC has taken measures to provide water to the affected people.
At the moment, 5 is being affected for the drought situation. There are 89,000 families being affected in those 5 districts. So districts are Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, Kottayam and Mela and Kurunegala districts. So there are some places being identified as scarcity of water, and Disaster Management Centre and the National Disaster Relief Centre already identified those areas. And we have provided the bouncers as well as the tanks, and we are providing the drinking water at the moment to people who are affected with the drinking water facility. So there's no any serious situation so far, but if the prevailing weather condition exceeds in the next few weeks' time, so it might be a little strong drought condition.
Areas of Galinbindunawava, Kadagasdigiliya, Horopatana, Madavachya and Kabatigolava in the Anuradhapura district are affected by dry weather conditions. According to our reporter, water levels in rivers and waterways have decreased over the past 3 months. Meanwhile, vegetable farmers in Hatton and several areas in the Nuwara district say that their harvests have been severely affected owing to dry weather conditions experienced in the area over the past 2 months. As a result of the weather, water levels in springs and rivers have decreased. Severe dry weather, which has been prevalent across the Siamalandu Divisional Secretariat in the Munragala district for the past 3 months, has caused severe inconvenience to the 15,000 farming families who rely on rainwater. It is reported that 20,000 acres of paddy lands are also destroyed. Meanwhile, media spokesperson for the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy, Sulakshana Jayawardena, says that due to the lack of rain, the Ceylon Electricity Board is facing challenges in hydropower generation.
there are more than 1,350 megawatt of large-scale hydropower plants and also 375 megawatt of small-scale power plants. So both of the power plants will be facing difficulties to run as forecasted or as planned because of the dry condition.
Meanwhile, Minister of Power and Renewable Energy stated that with the help of the Thai government, a plan will be formulated to produce artificial rain near hydropower plants to quell the existing power crisis in the country. He stated this at a meeting held with a delegation from Thailand representing the power sector. Upon the request of the CEB, engineers from Thailand were taken on an observational tour of Castle Ray and Mausakale reservoirs to look into the prospect of creating artificial rains in areas surrounding the reservoirs in the Central Hills.
Well, we have some breaking news. President Maithripala Sirisena says that all SITEM students will be transferred to the medical faculty of the Kothalawala Defence University in consideration of requests and proposals forwarded by all stakeholders. Once again, that story item is that President Maithripala Sirisena has said that all SITEM students will be transferred to the medical faculty of the Kothalawala Defence University in consideration and requests by all stakeholders. We will keep a close watch on how that story developed. Meanwhile, Inter-University Student Federation engaged in a protest march today that alleging the government is making plans to legalize the SITEM Medical College by merely changing its name. The protest march caused major traffic congestion around Ward Place. Authorities took steps to close the road from Lotus Road to Golf Face roundabout due to the students' march. When we return, we'll have business news. Stay with us.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Let's move on to business news now. Human Resources Director for Microsoft Asia Pacific region, Kathy Tingate, says that by 2028, 70% of jobs will be obsolete due to digitalization and technological development. Speaking exclusively to First Adnan, she added that it is therefore important for technological companies to reskill its human resource in order to adapt to the changing work environment.
One area we're really focused on is the scarcity of talent and identifying technical talent that is in high demand. We know that by 2020, 30% of technical roles will go unfilled. So what that means is we need to source talent from non-traditional sources. We also know with digital transformation that there's new skills emerging. We need to start reskilling and retraining our people. We know that millennials have different beliefs and expectations about work, and one of those areas is purpose and mission. They want to be a lot more focused in terms of the company they're joining around the mission and the purpose. The nature of work is changing dramatically and at an accelerated pace. Due to the new technologies of AI, automation and advanced analytics, we need to reskill our people into these new areas and skill sets. We know that 70% of jobs today will be obsolete in the next decade. So Microsoft and other companies are starting to focus on the digital skill sets that we need for the future.
The Australian Financial Review says Australia, the United States, India and Japan talking about establishing a joint regional infrastructure scheme as an alternative to China's multi-billion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative in an attempt to counter Beijing's spreading influence. The report added that the project is on the agenda for Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull's talks with US President Donald Trump during his trip to the United States later this week. Japan, meanwhile, plans to use its official development assistance to promote a broader, free and open Indo-Pacific strategy, including high-quality infrastructure. The Indo-Pacific strategy has been endorsed by Washington and is also seen as a counter to Belt and Road Initiative. Department of Census and Statistics says that the year-on-year inflation based on National Consumer Price Index has declined to 5.4% from 7.3% in December 2017. Inflation of 5.4% reported from January 2018 is the lowest inflation reported since January 2017. However, compared to month-on-month changes, NCPI in January 2018 has decreased from 125.8 from 126.6 reported in December 2017. This shows a decrease of 0.8% index points or 0.6 percentage points in January this year as compared to December last year. Let's take you to the stock market now. Sri Lankan shares ended higher for a fifth straight session today, led by blue chips. The all share price index ended 0.32% firmer at 6,598.73, its highest close since 6th of November 2017. Now let's cross over to Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange for a detailed report.
The turnover was 829.38 million rupees with 31.2 million shares changed in hands in 5,661 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 3,024.19 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 302.07 million rupees and foreign sales were 130.45 million rupees. There were 2 crossings today and the crossing turnover was 80.7 million rupees.
On to international news now. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence's office said yesterday that Pence was scheduled to meet with North Korean officials earlier this month during the Winter Olympics in South Korea, but the North Koreans cancelled the meeting. Pence was going to meet with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's younger sister Kim Yo-jong and the nominal head of state Kim Yong-nam, but the North Koreans scrapped the February 10th meeting 2 hours before it was set to start.
It would have been the first official interaction between North Korea and the Trump administration. However, State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert said that when the possibility arose of a brief meeting with the North Korean delegation, Vice President Mike Pence was ready to take this opportunity to drive home the necessity of North Korea abandoning its illicit ballistic missile and nuclear programs. She went on to say in her statement that at the last minute, the officials from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea decided not to go forward with the meeting, and that the administration regrets their failure to seize this opportunity. North Korea's attendance at the Winter Olympics was seen as a major thaw in consistently tense relations on the Korean peninsula. But there were also concerns that Pyongyang was using the event simply to improve its international image.
The Reverend Billy Graham, the charismatic North Carolina pastor who took his evangelizing crusade around the country and the globe, died on Wednesday morning, according to officials of his organization. He was 99 years old. And Graham served as a counselor or minister to dozens of U.S. presidents, and he preached to an estimated 215 million people in 185 countries around the world during his life. His message reached millions more as he maintained a near constant presence on radio, television, and the internet. He also wrote more than 24 books, including his 1997 memoir, Just As I Am, which was a New York Times bestseller.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
On to sports now. One of the candidates contesting the presidency of the National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka, Rohan Fernando, reiterates the point that the money invested has not yielded desired results. He stated this at a media briefing which was organized prior to the election.
Since 2000, do we have mental hope? Look at the people who have given up with sports. Where are we? And what do we do? I sometimes believe with all this money we have spent, if we hired some sports person from some other countries, we would have won several medals at much lesser cost. But that is not our idea. We are a country that has built tanks, irrigation tanks, where the entire world is still shocked as to how we built these tanks, irrigation tanks, the stupas, and even a country. We finished a 30-year-old terrorist war, and since 2009 we haven't had a single death related to terrorism. And this is the proud nation that cannot win medals for some reason or the other. So it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to change it.
Rohan Fernando, one of the candidates for presidency of the National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka, also advised voters not to vote for someone who will live off the committee.
If you don't get the right people in this organization, you will have problems. It will never be changed. So you must have people who don't have to live off this, as I told you before.
The election of the National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka will be held on Friday.
Janaka Kanchana Mudanayaka of Hanguranketha yesterday entered into the Guinness Book of Records by bending 22-gauge 12 iron rods using and building construction with the use of his head. He achieved this feat in just 48 seconds. Janaka Kanchana also already had 3 world records against his name prior to his latest achievement. Speaking on his motivation, Janaka said that he wants to become the person with the most number of world records, surpassing the current record of 18.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Now it is expected that the temperatures may vary between 18 to 30 degrees Celsius over the course of next 24 hours. Our viewers in the sea areas might experience slightly strong winds in the region of 25 to 35 kilometers per hour. Now looking at the rain activity, there will be some light showers in the central province, but mostly fair weather conditions can be expected across the island. There is also a slight possibility of ground frost in the Nuwara district during the early hours of the day. Well, that's it from your weather center tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. Before we go, now here's a bird's view of the Pearl of the Indian Ocean. Enjoy. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.